Well, guess what? This morning I'm doing my daily commute on a 2021 Honda Africa Twin DCT ES Adventure Sport. So is the Honda Africa Twin a good commuter? Well, the first thing I'll tell you is manoeuvring this big bike around the garage is by far the easiest bike I've ever manoeuvred with, for two reasons. One, its turning circle is freaking awesome, and two, the automatic DCT gearbox makes the steep upward hill I have to navigate there pretty easy. And then over the speed hump, first thing I noticed, beautiful plush suspension. So far so good on the Africa. Cue a bit of Toto. Yeah, nice one. Very manoeuvrable, very comfortable, obviously. Quite top heavy bike. In a weird way, kind of works. The DCT gearbox at these low speeds, you got 4 selections you can make in terms of the way it operates. I always ride it in the most aggressive, which is S3. I don't know why you'd ride it anywhere else, to be honest. It'd be too docile. First thing you notice, probably said that 3 times, so maybe it's the third thing you notice, is the low down torque of the bike. Jeez, it's smooth. Brakes are a little lackluster, I have to say. I've always thought that on this bike. It is the weak point of this bike, no question in my mind. The brakes do not inspire huge amounts of confidence to go fast and stop fast. Mind you, coming off the Twino and the S1000RR and other such things, so I'm probably spoiled a bit. This DCT does take some getting used to when you first ride it. It is a weird old feeling, but once you're used to it, it's so addictive. It's really cool. It's really cool. You can actually kind of relax. You can look around, you can just enjoy the ride and focus on the riding and your inputs, but also on the surrounds a little bit more. Like all these big tall bikes with bars, they tip it pretty well. These speeds, you don't really notice the big 21 inch, I think it is, front tyre. In the twisties, which we'll do a proper review of, it's really less confidence inspiring with that big front wheel. Well, compared to, it's fine, right? But compared to the sportier bikes. But today's about commuting, and I'm commuting into the city. It's about a 20 minute, today probably about a 22, 23 minute ride. And the reason I've chosen to ride the Africa today is because it's going to rain. Forecast for downpours this afternoon, and I'll be riding back in darker, wetter conditions, and I just feel more comfortable doing that on the big Africa, especially with these Denali D7 spotlights that I have at the front, which are just awesome. They can light up a beach. They're going to come with me on every adventure bike I own, those lights. They're coming off this if I sell it, that's for sure. But also, you know, it's got a lot more presence, it's easy, it's more visible. The lights obviously help. Its seating position is so comfortable and upright. And it's got great wet weather tyres on it. So for wet, when it's raining, I jump on this bad boy, and of course I've got all the soft bags on it, and my rain gear permanently lives in the back soft bag on this bike, the Barrett's branded bags. And so I just feel more comfortable when it's going to rain being on the big Africa. I'll tell you one thing though that really annoys me about this bike, and it comes into play when you're commuting, and that is the switchgear. I know everyone whinges about it. Honda, the reason they do is it's shite. What you want an intuitive, easy, on-the-fly experience. And I did a full review of the Twino recently, and I talked a lot about how easy the Twino is to configure on the fly. This thing, forget it. I mean, I've owned it for over a year, and it's just not intuitive. If I don't ride it for a couple of months, you forget how it works, especially if you're not on a bike. I just give up. I honestly can't just take my... If I take my concentration off the road and the riding to deal with this TFT and switchgear while I'm riding, I'll crash. It's too frigging difficult. And I'll give you a classic example, right? You just want a mode button. You want a button, you just push to change modes or configure modes. Well, there isn't one. Even though there's 1,000 buttons on the bike, there's not one for mode. You can configure the star button if you want, but that's a pain in the neck. It's not even a button for mode, so you've got to hold this button down and 3 seconds to get into the mode menus, and then there's about another 5 menus you have to go through to find what you're looking for. It's ridiculous. All they've got to do is pick any modern bike and look at the way they configure their menus and just copy them. Like, they don't have to have this. Ridiculous. Anyway, enough. Visibility is great, mirrors are excellent, no vibration whatsoever. The wind protection is interesting, you know, I mean, in theory it's good, and I've put the upper wind guards there and the lower ones on as well, which actually work quite well. They're only small bits of plastic, which is they do the job. I've got no air on my legs at all, none. Legs, feet, feet, no air. That's a tongue twister. But you do get quite a bit of buffering on the top of the helmet, I have to say. And at high speed you do. So they haven't quite nailed the screen on this, I don't reckon. There are options. And if I was going to keep this bike forever, if it was my forever bike, I'd probably do something about that. But I don't think I will. I'll explain that in another video later. But is this a good commuter bike? Subject today, yeah, look, it is. I don't like it in bumper to bumper from a efficiency point of view, because it's too wide for lane filtering. I do not like lane filtering on this, and that's a real negative for the sort of commuting I do. You've got to be able to lane filter, and I just don't on this bike. There are a few reasons. Obviously I've got the bags on, and you know what? I leave them on because I can't be arsed taking them off, putting them back on. They stay there permanently. Obviously I can take them off and make it easier. But look, it's a wide bike, big bike, and I don't feel that comfortable lane filtering. The low speed throttle response, as you can see, smooth as butter, no worries. On a second gear, 24 k's an hour, and no worries. Pops into first, and away we go. Like, so yeah, low speed banner's great, you know, agility great, but it's big and wide, so lane filtering, yeah, not so much. Fuel consumption's excellent, obviously. I've got the bigger gas tank on the Adventure Sport. I don't know how many miles I get out, or k's I get to the tank, to be honest. I don't even think about it on this bike, because I know it's a heap. It's shite loads. I feel like I'm never really filling up on it. I can't remember the last time I went to the gas station. God, it could be a month ago. So yeah, no issues at all there. It's great for 2-up, and don't really do a lot of commuting 2-up, but certainly some short trips 2-up, and we'll do the full review of this bike, and we'll do a little bit of 2-up on it, and it's obviously excellent. One push the button to get the preload adjustment made, and away you go. So yeah, look, is it a commuter? Look, this is not the first bike I go and grab out of my garage when I want to commute, to be honest, and mainly because of the size. And I like a scalpel for commuting in the sort of traffic I ride through. I need to be able to zip in and out. I need a little bit more instantaneous throttle response and brake response in this sort of riding, because you're often taking action to avoid stuff, and either defensively or aggressively. And this bike is not quite as sharp. Well, it's not a sharp point and shoot machine, so it wouldn't be my first choice. But if you own one and you want one bike and you're worried about whether this will be a good commuter, look, it is. It does the job perfectly. And you see a lot of people commuting on this route on GS's and Tigers and other adventure bikes. But one thing I do like about the Africa is it's rare. I see hardly anyone on these bikes, and when you see them, you look, because they're stunning. The road presence on this thing, adventure bike's got a weird look to them. This one just looks cool, man. Colour scheme, the gold wheels, the stance of it, the front lights. On my full review, I'll do a walk around and show you, but it's a stunning looking bike with lots of presence. And rare, so that makes it cool. It makes you feel something when you ride it. That is cool. I've got just a few mods. I've got all the crash bars on this. tank grips and all that jazz. Tank grips are important. Obviously the crash bar is more if you're going off-road, and I've done a couple of off-roads on this, but silly me, I used road tyres and it didn't go very well. Everyone else had knobbies, and I was the only knob because I didn't have knobbies. I was the knobbyless knob, and it was actually a course I did. Got sent home because it was pissing down with rain and it was muddy and steep, and this thing was all over the shop because I had road tyres on it. No grip, zero grip, not even a straight line. I couldn't even hold the thing in a straight line. No, nothing to do with the bike. Nothing to do with the bike, just the tyre selection. Yeah, novice. I'm a novice. Anyway, yeah, so back to the commuting capability. It's smooth, it's effortless. It's fun, it's not 2.0 fun. But look, it's got plenty of response. You've got the manual Tiptronic. I can switch down like this, bang bang, with my thumb. So this thing actually does pull wheelies, by the way. It pulls good, especially off the line, just bang over the run. I've had my helmet visor open the whole time. That could be quite annoying. You can flip this thing into manual mode on the fly, which is really cool. The indicator switch is in a really stupid position. It's too low. Too low. You go to reach it and it's not there. It's different to any other bike I've ever ridden, which is a pain in the ass. But it's got cancelling indicators, heated grips, cruise control, all that good stuff. And that stuff's probably more useful for longer trips. But standout feature for commuting is the smoothness and the comfort. You know, it's an effortless journey into work and back. Yeah, the only thing I say, it's like, yesterday I did a commuting video on the 2.0, and the standout feature of that bike is its fun factor, right? You've got fun at your fingertips constantly. This bike is a little more difficult to extract the fun factor on a commute. Okay, because you've got to, especially if you're riding an automatic, and you just, you open the throttle, she drops down again, away she goes. By the time that's happened on the 2.0, you've already had your fun and you're backing off. So that's, I know I'm sounding like a few negatives. I suppose really the summary of that is that this wasn't designed for bumper-to-bumper commuting, I don't think. But if you are buying one of these and want to know if it can commute, absolutely, comfortably, beautifully, safely, and enough fun to want to get back on and do it again the next day and the day after. Suspension's really plush. I've got it in a strict setting. Not that I could easily change that because it's just too complicated. I don't even, just then I went to his indicators, couldn't find them, so I didn't bother using them. That's a pain in the neck, man. Very chuckable. It feels really light actually. This bike does not feel heavy at these speeds at all. Shit, look at the bus going right and the truck going left. It's called a heavy vehicle sandwich. That's what that's called. If I was on the 2.0, I would have been whoomp through and gone. Ride slightly more defensively on this speed. What's this rangy trying to do here? Wants a bit each way, wants a bit of both lanes, huh? Let's talk about the sound. One of the really surprising positives when I first turned the key on this bike, on the demo and the dealer, I love the engine note. The engine, which is really torquey engine, not particularly powerful, quite torquey down low, but Jesus, sounds good. The exhaust sounds really good on this. The video you're listening to now won't do justice to it, but it really does sound great. It's got a really good growl to it. Yeah, for a stock system, really surprising. And again, in a real world condition like commuting, having noise and being heard is really important. So yeah, that's a big tick. From a commuting point of view, you can be heard, you can be seen. So yeah, but it's satisfying, that engine noise. And the torque of the bike is quite satisfying as well. I am actually considering at the moment a Multistrada V4S. I haven't actually ridden one yet. I'm going to ride one shortly, and like I done a lot of research. That bike might be the adventure bike for me because it probably, I don't do a lot of off-roading and I like a sportier bike. So look, jury's out, I haven't ridden it yet, but I'll report back. This bike's wonderful, does everything so well, but it just lacks that excitement factor. Okay, if you are commuting every day, and like me, you know, that's half an hour and half an hour, that's an hour a day, 5 days a week, 5 hours, and that's a pretty short commute. A lot of people are doing a lot longer than that. You want a bit of fun factor and a bit of excitement factor. If I didn't have a car and I was commuting for 2 hours, you know, okay, this would be perfect, but for the short, sharp commutes I do, just a bit more fun would be good. So I'm wondering whether or not I want to take a bigger bike or just crappy I'm wondering whether the multi-strata might be not just a bike that gets you there, but once you're there you can have some fun on it. Just like just like a little bit of fun factor.
No one likes to slow walk a boat with cash, so it's late.